Did you know that tarot cards actually started out as a game? It wasn't like until hundreds of years later that it actually developed into something that was used as divination or fortune telling. So the original meaning and usage of tarot cards was a game. So in the 1300s, it actually started out in the Islamic states as this game. Then 100 or so years later, it reached Italy. Then about 300 years later, it reached the French. And that was in the 1700s. And it was the French occultists, the occult, that started saying that tarot cards all of a sudden had this ancient Egyptian knowledge. So no, it was a game, okay? And some French guy who was a seed, he worked with seeds, so like a tradie, some guy named Jean-Baptiste something. And after doing his seed tradesman work, he became a fortune teller. And he found the game and he was like, I'm gonna make this some ancient Egyptian story, even though it actually came more from Italy. And I actually can't find anything that he ever predicted that came true. Aside from that, God is really clear in the Bible that he does not like tarot card reading. Anything to do with fortune telling or astrology, yoga, crystals, chakras, the Kundalini awakening. God says multiple times that if you are dabbling in this stuff, you're not going to inherit the kingdom, apparently. And that seems pretty steep to me. So then I'm questioning why. Why is it so bad? And the reason is that when you are participating in this stuff, you are trying to seek knowledge for yourself. Now, in the Bible, who did that and what happened? Adam and Eve did that. There was one thing they were not allowed to do because they lived a perfect life as the first human beings. And the one thing they were told not to do was to eat from the tree of knowledge. And what's knowledge? Fortune telling. So of course that's how the enemy is trying to sell all this to people. Get your own knowledge. You're a God. God's within you. That means you're God. No, we are not God, okay? Yes, God's within us, all those sorts of things. Yes, we have power. We have access to power through the Holy Spirit and at God's discretion. Everyone has spiritual gifts and they're given to us by God, but people are using it wrong and accessing, power from demons through doing this sort of stuff. Now, that might not sound that bad to you, but if you're accessing demonic power, that means that you're actually giving them legal permission to torment you. It could start with sleep paralysis. It could start with lots of bad luck. And after a while, when this stuff starts to happen all the time, you're going to start seeking more and more answers. And sadly, a lot of people keep going back to the tarot card readers, keep going back to the fortune tellers. But all that's doing is keeping that legal doorway wide open, allowing more and more demonic oppression to come at you and torment you here in your body through sickness and pain, and in your sleep through sleep paralysis. Here's some scriptures to back up how much God does not like this stuff. Deuteronomy 18:10 says, "Let no one be found among you who sacrifices their son or daughter in the fire." Yes, they used to do that. Wouldn't be surprised if they still do it. "Who practices divination." Tarot cards are divination. And then in Leviticus 19:26, it says, "Do not practice divination or seeking knowledge omen." God gives knowledge, okay? He gives wisdom. They're two of the spiritual gifts that he actually gives to people. So you can actually access this sort of power anyway, but do it through God when there's going to be no bad repercussions. A relationship with God can be really real and really powerful. Like if you're into power and, Harry Potter style stuff, seek God because it's so real. Just don't do tarot card reading, guys. It is evil and it's not even reliable.